Well, our role is to be responsible for running the UK's two main free-to-use TV platforms, which is Freeview over terrestrial television and a smaller platform, Freesat, over satellite TV. And we represent about half the UK market in terms of services that homes use on their primary set. So we're about half of the overall UK TV market. But I think you're right to your question in terms of we've had a sort of historic definition in the UK of sort of pay homes, pay services in Sky and Virgin, and free-to-air services, Freeview and Freesat. I think that is starting to break down, and we're sort of seeing platforms emerging at different levels of the value chain. So in a way, I'd consider Netflix to be a platform. Equally, I consider the emergence of sort of operating systems like Amazon Fire, Google TV, which are increasingly kind of prevalent on smart TVs as a platform layer. And then we're thinking about how we evolve Freeview as a platform, less around kind of terrestrial distribution, which is a big part of what we do, but more about how we embrace IP distribution as a complement to broadcast and how we evolve Freeview as a hybrid platform where the IP distribution plays a bigger part. So we are thinking like a platform as well. So it's a sort of multi-layered marketplace in a way it wasn't sort of 10 or 20 years ago, which both makes it fascinating and also somewhat complicated.
And as you said, Freeview as the traditional gateway through the EPG, the electronic program guide in the UK, has been substantially displaced by some of these new services. Including smart TVs themselves who own their own home screen. What's the role for Freeview and your own IPTV offering within this new environment?
Well, what we try and represent is aggregation of all of the best of free-to-air content. So we try and make it seamless and simple for viewers to access any of the content from our shareholders, which are the four main UK public service broadcasters, BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. So as you say, historically that's been found through the EPG, which has been the core part of a traditional user experience. As that's changing, what we're trying to do is think about how, through aggregating public service broadcasting content in the UK, we can present that content into a third-party environment, whether it's a Google TV or an Amazon Fire TV or a Samsung TV, and as far as possible integrate our offering, our aggregated offering, into their user experience in a way that is as seamless as possible. That's not without its challenges, because you're kind of working with people who themselves are presenting their own content and a lot of third-party content. So a lot of what we're trying to do now is sort of partner with some of these emerging big tech players, big global CE manufacturers, and think about how we can present the best of British content within an environment which is obviously offering a breadth of content above and beyond that.
How receptive are those tech platforms to this? There is legislation in the works which would guarantee so-called prominence of UK public service broadcasters in smart TV home screens. How will that go down?
Well, I think there's two parts to the answer to that question. As you say, I'll come on to regulation in a second. At the moment, the way in which it works is sort of through negotiation and partnership. I think what all of those big tech platforms recognise is to sell and launch a device in the UK to a viewer who's going to use it, you need to have all the public service broadcasting, both live and on demand, and that's what we bring. So as much as kind of the negotiation can be challenging, we bring something of value to those partners, and they recognise that, but that dynamic is shifting over time. I think the importance, therefore, of regulation and the forthcoming media bill in the UK, which should set out the terms on which that content is distributed and its prominence. It sort of, for me, it creates a kind of the underlying sort of regulatory framework on which those negotiations can take place with a bit more clarity from government of what is expected as a good outcome. So my hope is the regulation will set out the kind of desired outcomes for the UK, and then it will be up for organisations like myself to then negotiate against those goals with those big tech players.
And although over the last few years it may seem like the wind has blown a little bit away from free UK TV content toward SVOD subscription TV services, arguably the winds of change are blowing back in the other direction as we face economic challenges and the rise, the renaissance of advertising supported TV. Do you see it going that way? Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think we've had sort of 5 years of just the huge explosion of SVOD as a new model of watching TV, and a new model of kind of monetizing TV. But I think that is maturing. I think you can see in the sort of recent results globally from the likes of Netflix and Disney and others that it's a market that's very oversupplied, and the growth is sort of more challenging now. And also economic reality is hitting a little bit. And I think over the next 2 or 3 years, the big growth opportunity is actually in the emergence of AVOD, fast channels, the reinvention of live as an experience on these smart devices. So I actually am more positive probably about the growth opportunities in kind of AVOD delivered and monetized content than probably in SVOD, which I think will continue to grow, but it's sort of astronomic growth I think will slow over the years ahead. What is the one thing that you would hope to find under your Christmas tree from Santa this year in order to make that growth happen?
Well, as I say, I do think within the UK market, we've always obviously had a set of sort of outcomes that viewers expect in terms of the health of public service broadcasting, the availability of that content for free for everyone universally. So I do think, I hate to sort of rely on kind of regulatory interventions because ultimately I'm a believer in markets and sort of market players should solve problems. But I think if we can get the right regulatory underpinning in place in the UK, which I think is critical to all markets globally, I think you do need a regulatory set of sort of frameworks and parameters that you can work within. That allows all the players to kind of work effectively in securing those goals. So yes, I suppose particularly in the UK at the moment, I think we would like a kind of very clear forward-looking regulatory framework which we can then all operate effectively and deliver on behalf of viewers.